Hello, everyone. My name is Susanna Peredo. I'm founder and executive director of an all-volunteer nonprofit called Vanguard Culture that works to advance San Diego's creative industry workforce. Vanguard Culture provides quality arts coverage of San Diego's arts and culture community, professional development for creatives, and unforgettable cultural events that bring diverse communities together and inspire creative collaboration across all industries. For more information about our programs, please visit vanguardculture.org. In our art shop talks, we like to pair artists with curators with whom they've worked with in the past. And since Julia and I have worked together in this capacity, today I will have the honor of interviewing this dynamic and very talented artist. I couldn't be more excited to have Julia here with us today for our art shop talk. Julia San Román is a California artist born in Madrid, Spain. Although she concentrated her formal education on science, eventually moving to the United States to further her career and earning a Ph.D. in biology. The influence of her childhood's exposure to art remained an integral part of her passion for life. And after receiving training in studio arts and art history at the college level, she has committed her life to painting. Regarding her new series, The Hours, she states, "The Hours is my homage to all of our valuable foreign workers, whom I believe are the silent base of the American economy. They are the seeds, the fasteners, the wheels, the gears of our society, and by taking care of the basics, they nurture it. Some of these courageous and reliable workers accumulate sick hours for a lifetime, but frequently are not allowed by their superiors to take it, or they feel insecure about taking it. Thus, they continue working even when they are ill. This is my now, as I work part-time as a medical interpreter in the workers' compensation system. It is a reality that I was aware of, but now I come face to face with this unfair situation on a daily basis." Julia San Román, welcome to the Art Shop.
Gracias. Thank you so much for hosting me. I have people from Spain connected right now.
Oh,
so this is an international event. Yes.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And welcome. Bienvenidos todos. So first of all, how are you? Tell us about your pandemic experience as a person, as an artist. What is life like for you right now?
For me, it has actually prompted me to do my art almost full time because I had to be confined. I did that for 3 months, and that's when I started working with fluid acrylics. So I learned a complete new technique. Later on during the summer, I returned to do medical interpreting, but I'm mostly doing it through Zoom or phone, and I can always stay in my studio and take breaks to do my interpretation. So unfortunately, it's a sad situation, but it's worked for the best because it brought me back to my art.
Before we get into the hours, the actual series that we are featuring, I wanted to give the audience a sense of the scope of your work and sort of the arc of how you got to where you are at this point. So if you'll join me on this little visual tour, Julia, I'm going to invite you to stop me and to speak out about any of the pieces that you see. So we'll get started with your brief series. And I'm not sure if I knew you at this point. I think this is when you were, yeah, I did know you at this point. So you've got some figurative abstraction here happening.
Yes, I was working in parallel with the Cante Hondo series that were those birds in flight in the brief series around the time I met you. That was 10 years ago, actually.
Tell me about the abstraction component of your figurative pieces.
Yes, the figures, I was actually talking about how transient and brief we are in this life. I was personally starting to lose some relatives. So I was coming face to face with people passing away. And so what I decided is to paint the figure, to deconstruct it, to do, let's say, a mock of digitalization. I did it with my palette knife, building layers and doing those, let's say, cubistic imprints that resemble pixelation.
Yes.
And the pixelation means lack of resolve or fading away, which is what I was trying to say conceptually, that we are transient and that we pass very fast.
Yes, I think that definitely is evoked here. This is the exhibition that you and I worked on together. It's Cante Hondo. We did a beautiful exhibition at the Airport Authority. You were actually, I believe, the first or second exhibition that we held in the new art gallery in Terminal 2 East. And what I loved about it is that we included a multimedia component. So there was a sound component of the sound of fluttering flapping wings, but it was actually more the Cante Hondo. So tell us about that.
I heard the airport was looking for artists to present projects that had some cultural input. And I thought the Cante Hondo was based on my love for flamenco music. And it started as a synesthesia, which is when I hear flamenco hand clapping, I envision birds taking off, and the movement of their wings makes a sound that is similar to the clapping. So I was trying to depict birds in flight in clouds, and I also thought it was very appropriate because it was an airport. So I developed, along with my husband who helped me, an audio installation that would get activated when the travelers got into the exhibition area. And the audio was a mix of flamenco hand clapping that I recorded with real artists that live here in San Diego. And I mixed that sound with wings flapping. And it was, you made an incredible exhibition. The way you hung it was exquisite. And it became like a shrine, like a place where the travelers could go and sit down and just relax. It was a phenomenal experience for me. And it stayed there for 6 months, actually.
Yeah, it was a beautiful exhibition, one of my favorites for sure. So then you move into disassociation. So what was happening in your life at that point? How did this inform these pieces, if you can share?
Although I am very politically and socially inclined, my work is very biographical. And at that point, my husband, when I was working on those beautiful paintings with clouds and color, my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer, stage 4. And I could no longer paint that way. So I decided to dissociate the color, from the composition along with the birds, because everything in my life felt dissociated, in shambles. And so I developed this new series that is more in blues or grays with the color at the bottom or on one side. And I did that for 3 years. It was, I also depicted the light of hope. Every time my husband went through chemo and was dying from lack of energy, I would envision these rays of light. And I was hoping for him to recover. Along that, I was starting to hear social issues. Our American society was going towards where we are now. And I was also starting to feel this need for a ray of hope, And
have you always been sort of very tapped into social justice issues? Is that something that's always been a part of you
yes,
in your career?
Yes. What happened is my husband's disease was so strong that it took precedent over everything. But yes, I have always been very politically and socially conscious. Absolutely. And I believe art has to be beautiful, visual art, but it also needs to have some, some concept behind what we do. That's my opinion. I understand some artists, they just want to do beautiful things, paint beautiful things and make a good living out of it. I respect that tremendously. But in my case, I want my art to be meaningful or speak of issues.
And so we're going to move on to this next phase, which is full circle. And now all of a sudden we're seeing all of this color and this sort of chromatic deconstruction. So what was happening here? This is completely different from where you started.
What I did before. Well, when I was in Disassociation, I painted gray for 3 years, and there was a time my husband kept alive for 4 more years undergoing chemo. But there was this last spring before he passed away that I needed some color in my life, and I could only get it by painting it. So I started painting the light of hope that I did in Disassociation, but I started painting it as its spectrum, the rainbow. The rainbow is the spectrum of light. And I did a series called Glimmer. And then that whole series is still going on because it's very universal. And then my husband passed away. And a couple of years down the road, I felt after I was going through grief, but when I overcame my grief, I felt like a little kid again, like I was 17 again. I also participated in a group show with my colleagues from TWA, which is 12 women artists. And they actually had a show based on how we felt when we were 17. So I developed this series with the figure. This is Glimmer that you are seeing right now. Glimmer is when I started deconstructing the light or painting the light spectrum. I still have the clouds because I like to communicate or connect. This is vocabulary that I use that is part of my language, and I appropriate those visuals like they are my language, right?
Yeah.
And so full circle is let's say it's a continuation of my work with the figure in parallel with Glimmer. And yes, I added the light. Full circle also has to do with Latin American salsa. Part of the way I overcame my grief was by dancing salsa. I also integrated myself more by doing that with the Latino community. This is before I started. By the way, I am Latina, but I am Mediterranean. I'm not South American. So I'm Latina, but I also call them the Latino community. And they really cheered me up with their spontaneity and the love for life and the way they dance. So full circle has to do with me going back to when I was 17 and my love for Latin American music and dancing. And it still has the hope for me, which is those lines of colors. This is Glimmer, which I'm still working on it. I'm going to have a show in downtown San Diego this spring with Glimmer. Yes.
That's at Sparks Gallery?
At Sparks Gallery, okay. Yes.
Check them out. This is one
yes.
of my favorites.
It'll be there for 2.5 months, I think. Yes. It'll be a solo show.
Great. So now we're moving into the hours, which is the pieces that are actually available for sale, right? All of these pieces are available for sale. And there's actually one piece that's shown here in process, and maybe you can show us the final result, because when we went to your studio, it wasn't complete yet. So we're really looking forward to watching this series grow. It's incredibly gorgeous and meaningful, and I love all of the subconscious sort of messaging happening. So talk to us about this piece here. This is 250 hours, I believe.
Yes. So finally, I stopped dancing salsa, and I had to take a job along with my painting activity because I needed some income apart from my painting sales. And I became a medical interpreter. And that was another connection with the Latino community because I had to translate between these limited proficiency English patients and doctors. And I heard a lot of their stories. They were gorgeous people. They were so grateful that I was helping them. And then I learned that some of them, when we told them you need to take off for a couple of days to overcome your injury, they would say, oh, I am unable. And they explained to me, some of them they're not allowed by their supervisors to take sick leave, even though it appears in their contract, or they are afraid to ask their supervisors because they are afraid they'll be fired, and they need the money to pay for their rent and basic livings. And some of them told me the amount of sick leave hours that they had accumulated through their lifetime. So based on these, the Oceanside Museum of Art also is accepted a proposal that this group of women called TWA presented, talking about Now. Now is the title of the show, is curated by Alessandra Moctezuma, and it had to show, the show is about our present political, social and political present right now, our moment, how we are living it. So I decided to create this series and present it. For me, these foreign workers are essential. They are the basis of the California economy, definitely. They do all the basic essential jobs. They are still doing it through the pandemic, and they accumulate these hours, and they are personally beautiful. I just, by HIPAA compliance, I cannot disclose the name of patients, but I can talk in general about these issues. So these models embody my feeling for the migrant workers. And instead of the clouds, I'm going to talk about the formal issues. I decided to add these flowers with acrylics that I was working on through the earlier stage of the pandemic. And part of the inspiration was how they arranged the flowers in their head. And originally it was going to be a few flowers, but then, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez said one time, the Nobel laureate in literature, he said his books, he's the author of 100 Years of Solitude. He said his books would start very contained, and then they would explode and become unattainable, like they would control him. It's the same with me. The paintings are controlling me. It's like I can't stop painting flowers, and they became this big. I included, in this case, a digital image of fasteners or screws, and in some of them I added Japanese paper. So this is mixed media, and the final coat is usually with oils, basically on the face. The face I wanted to be very realistic.
Mhm.
I didn't want to deconstruct it,
Yeah,
because
very
out
different.
of respect, I wanted to give them a face, because oftentimes we don't see them. They become invisible to us. And however, they are giving so much to our society. I know they are getting paid, but they are not getting paid that much, and they are giving us a lot. So this is my homage to them.
What I love about the series is that you've been able to find so much beauty in a subject that can be very uncomfortable and painful.
The time to be angry has passed for me, because I learned through my experience that that doesn't help you, especially in this society where everybody is contained. So in reality, they are beautiful because it is how I envision them. This is how I see them. And I can see them better than most people because I speak Spanish. You know, I'm a sister to them. So for me, it's really easy to see how they are. I speak their language. It's so beautiful because it is the way I see them and the way they are, actually. They're beautiful people.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you again for supporting the arts. We'll see you at the next Art Shop Talk.